Good afternoon. I'm Yunping Liang, CE PhD student working with Dr. Baba Gashri. Today I'm going to talk about the use of public-private partnerships to facilitate the development of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. First, let me begin with a question for you. Do you know, on average, how much time each American spends on driving every year? The answer is 17,600 minutes. What does this number exactly mean? I mean, for me, the first thing pop up into my mind is greenhouse emission. We just experienced the hottest summer in Atlanta in the recent 30 years, and US EPA has identified transportation as the largest single economic sector in terms of fossil fuel consumption. Besides greenhouse, actually there are more hazardous components in vehicle emissions. And the second thing pop up into my mind is like annual operation cost. A research team at Michigan University found out that the annual operation cost for the traditional gasoline-powered vehicle is $1,117 US, but that cost for the electric vehicle is only $485. Also, another advantage of electric vehicle is it increases the level of safety. It's believed that the lower center of gravity of electric vehicle make it less likely to roll over when collision happens. We have talked that much advantage of electric vehicles, then what's the difficulties of electric vehicles adoption? Battery cost, battery capacity, and availability of charging infrastructures. Actually, thanks to the development of Liang chemistry, nowadays the price of battery decreased to 30% of that 10 years before. And it's like the 80% recharging could be complete within 40 to 60 minutes. The huge development, the progress in the battery industry implies that the availability of charging infrastructure has become an obvious stumbling stone in the development of EV adoption. Actually, this is supported by a 2015 survey conducted by the US National Academies of Science. They found out that the availability of charging infrastructure is the top concern of EV purchase. And they also found out that the electric vehicle charging infrastructure is critical for electric vehicle adoption. I think basically we can classify charging into three categories: the charging at home, charging at workplace, and charging in the public area. Actually, except the first one, charging at home, the rest two, they heavily rely on public charging infrastructure. But the problem of construct more public charging infrastructure is much like the problem of chicken and egg, because the growth of public charging infrastructure requires the growth of EV purchase, but the growth of EV purchase requires the growth of public charging infrastructure. And for me, I think public-private partnerships has the good potential to break the tie. Another potential benefits of public-private partnerships, I think, is to increase equality. Due to the lack of the public charging infrastructure, nowadays, 80% of the charging is at home. That's not a problem for the people who live in single-family homes, but for the people who live in multi-dwelling apartments, for example, students or low-income families, they have very limited access to charge their vehicles. The public-private partnerships is like a collaboration between the public and private sectors. Without transferring the title of the property, the private sector, they get a chance to invest in infrastructure project, which is, in the days before, that's not an open area for the private investors. And also, they are supposed to use their expertise to design, build, maintain, operate the facilities. I think, actually, there are a lot of existing policies aiming at supporting the electric vehicle adoption, but most of them focus on the purchase rather than increasing the availability of charging infrastructure. And compared to the one-shot purchase behavior, the construction, operation, and maintenance of the charging infrastructure emphasizes more on life cycle performance. We do not need it works well at this time. We want it works well in the following years. And that's exactly the sweet point of public-private partnerships. It's very different from like tax credit or rebate or anything. The public-private partnerships model could generate a win-win situation between the government, the industry, and the user without doing any transfer payments. This is a very, what I'm talking today is a relatively big research topic, and it has many things to do. For example, the analysis on the appropriate business model, the analysis on the risk identification and the risk allocation, and also like the analysis on the legislative framework, what's the challenges we are facing and what opportunities we are going to have. I just started working on this problem, and I just completed some preliminary work, such as the feasibility analysis of small public-private partnerships, especially in the area of sustainable city. For example, we can see some actual cases from Michigan and Michigan Department of Transportation, and also some cases from Pennsylvania, from California. There are many cases, and I have finished some preliminary work on this side. I'm very optimistic and thrilled on this topic, and I strongly believe that if we spend some good efforts on this topic, we may get the chance to make a real difference for the sustainable transportation. I rest my case. Thank you.